Hey everybody, welcome back to Solid Performance Solutions. Chris McCabe of e-commerce. Chris here. I'm with Andrew Maff of Blue Tusker. How you doing, Andrew?
Doing good. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing all right. Topsy-turvy times for Amazon brands these days.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I thought I'd catch up with you on things you're hearing, seeing, mistakes you see people making that are costing them money, because that's what we're seeing. And we don't think brands really have much margin for error to make any mistakes. Certainly not for the rest of this year, but even this quarter ahead of Prime Day, because if Prime Day doesn't end up being as much as you hope it will be, then you can't make up for some of those mistakes, especially with ASINs that go down and things that we see. What are you seeing in terms of, what you're talking to people about every day, where you think they need to kind of take another look or maybe even clean up their act so that they don't run into those kinds of financial mistakes that'll hurt them even more with all the other financial challenges?
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of kind of standard responses to that of like, oh, you got to keep an eye on your pricing. You got to do this for your ads and blah, blah. But like, I think the actual reality of it is like that you can't keep playing that game. Obviously, you and I just met at Prosper recently, and the big conversation was being reliant on a platform like Amazon just seems ridiculous. Like, one of the things I always say, at least I've been saying lately at the presentation I did, was like FBA fees have averaged an increase of 10% year over year for the past 5 years. CPCs have averaged an increase of 8% year over year, and competition's up an average of 6% year over year. Yeah. So that's all over the past 5 years. There's just constant fee increases, but you also have such an influx in overseas sellers that it becomes a race to the bottom. So you can't really increase your price point, because you end up just losing because there's people out there that are less expensive than you, but you can't really keep it where it is either because costs keep going up, that it becomes too expensive. So like being solely reliant on the platform just seems ridiculous to me. I'm obviously more on the omnichannel side, so obviously I'm biased. My comments is like, you should be exploring things outside of Amazon. Doesn't mean get away from Amazon. I think Amazon's an amazing customer acquisition channel, but I think Amazon as a whole is kind of going in a really interesting direction. I've seen a lot of internal Amazon teams seem to be extremely focused on like their fulfillment, and now even more so like deeper supply chain that they're focused on, and less so on the actual marketplace. They've also started to lean a little bit more so into DSP and using DSP to drive traffic like off Amazon. So they're putting all of these initiatives in place, let alone like MCF Buy with Prime. They're putting all these initiatives in place to help brands diversify. And I think it's because Amazon's realizing that our marketplace is kind of hitting this like plateau to a certain extent. Yeah. And we've made it so easy for these overseas sellers to come on the platform that it's causing this kind of supply and demand issue. And so Amazon's like, we need to start to make more money outside of the marketplace because we're kind of hitting this wall. So I think for sellers, they need to understand that like Amazon's making those moves because they even see the writing on the wall. Yeah. And so they got to venture out.
I think some sellers aren't paying attention to how Amazon views the marketplace. Like they're thinking, they talk to other sellers a lot, and they talk to whoever else, service providers, consultants. They don't think like Amazon thinks enough. And on the Amazon side of it, I mean, there are teams I know that are like trying to get people to open new accounts for a whole new brand. They're still doing that. There are teams dedicated to that, trying to get people to launch like an accessory to a product, trying to get them to launch new ASINs for the current brand. So expand the brand you've got, and then launch a new brand because we're going to help you for, 24 months instead of 12, like the seller success teams, for example, or we'll give you resources to help you expand. So like when I'm in Seattle or just at events or whatnot, and I'm talking to people from Amazon, they're in expansion mode. And then sellers are talking about how the marketplace is shrinking, and there's a bit of a disconnect in terms of how. So it's like, if you play your cards right, I think you can get Amazon to help you expand things. But obviously you have to manage your finances the right way. You have to manage your inventory the right way. And you can't assume this year will be the same as last year, right?
I think that one of the themes that a lot of vendors were talking about at the conferences I was at this past couple of months, like it felt like this year was kind of a little bit more of like a defining shift of there was significantly less sellers just in general. And I was at several different conferences, but there was definitely way less people that had like just started or were thinking of starting. Like it was pretty much like, it's almost like the bottom percentage of some sellers have started to fall off. I just saw, it was in a Facebook group I'm in, and someone just, they took a video and they were basically just being emotional through the whole video of like, they have to close. They're like, we can't keep this stuff going anymore. And so they were looking for a buyer and all this stuff. And I think that the industry's starting to wean out smaller companies, and the bigger ones have to really figure out different initiatives so that they're not like just stuck.
Yeah. The way they approach it publicly, like, is still pro smaller, grow your 7-figure brand the way you used to. The way you get it in private is kind of, we can see there's a marketplace consolidation of larger brands that are this year or next, but not far beyond, are going to be eating the smaller brands that can't make it. Publicly, Amazon says a lot about this is still a great time to launch a brand, to grow a brand, same as before, past years. Privately, I think Amazonians you sit down with, talk to, acknowledge that there's the consolidation underway.
Yeah.
Not like past consolidations where brands were selling on a high note. Some brands are selling or will sell to a larger brand because they have to. They're compelled to. And they can't count on growth to get a better price when they sell. They're going to have to just take what they can get, which is not the way it was a few years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like, even I don't want to say that we've hit a peak of products, because that obviously doesn't align, but I feel like the days of the Me Too product of like, I see someone making good money with this, I'm going to do the same thing. Like, I know there was a ton of platforms and there was companies that would they would help you find those types of products where there was a bunch of search volume and not a lot of competition. I feel like we've capped that out. And now we're in this new scenario where like, you clearly have to define your brand as a very differentiated product, or something that literally like you more or less invented or severely improved, just because the days of just going and finding stuff and slapping a label on it are just done.
That's why TikTok became such a force so quickly for so many brands to use it as a differentiation angle, because the days of like, oh, we'll hire somebody to help us get a bunch of positive reviews quickly, and that's how we're going to stay on the map. I mean, no, that's not how it works anymore.
Yeah.
So reviews are still important, don't get me wrong, but they need some sort of hybrid marketing strategy or model where they're bringing in influencer marketing and differentiating their brand from all the other people in their category selling kind of the same stuff, right?
Yeah, that more like top of funnel educational content is wildly important. And I think that what a lot of Amazon brands don't realize, and they can almost see this, like I was just looking at an example the other day where like someone will have less reviews, maybe the product price is a little bit more expensive, but they're still outranking like someone that has a lower price point and way more reviews. And most of the time we've found it's because they're doing so much stuff off Amazon that they're driving traffic to Amazon. They're getting that qualified traffic because they're searching for their brand name, and it's just letting them fly through the rankings. So they're doing so much off marketing initiatives that it's actually driving a significant amount of Amazon growth. And TikTok's, fantastic, but like it's wildly difficult to be profitable on that channel. It's a great top of funnel. It's great for customer acquisition, but I don't think I know really many brands at all that see it as a profit center. They see it more as like a customer acquisition center.
Yeah. Do you have the kinds of conversations we sometimes do with people like who are desperate, who are just like, Andrew, provide me some salvation, rescue me, come up with ideas that'll turn that will turn the tables quickly, not over the course of 6 to 9 months, but within 2 or 3 months. Do you have those kinds of conversations?
Oh, yeah. And it's, it's going to turn into a venting session. Like it's
okay.
The reality
podcasts are great places to vent.
Yeah. This is just therapy for me at this point. This is like the amount of brands that come to us. And when you're looking to work with a new agency, it's because most of the time something's not working and you need to fix it. It could be another agency didn't do as well as they wanted, or they've decided like it's not working in-house. And so that's the case. Yeah. Most of the time, that's what happens, right? So that means literally everyone that comes to us is like, help me, this isn't working, I need it fixed today, blah, blah, blah. And the reality of that situation is like, depending on how deep the problem is, like it just doesn't happen overnight. There is no such thing as a magic wand. And one of the things that drives me crazy about, agencies have negative connotations, and a lot of times I get it, right? Because it's not hard to launch one and claim to be one. It takes a while to kind of prove yourself out. But the theory of, it's like, to me, it's like going to a different doctor. Like if you work with an agency that is very clear of like, hey, this didn't work, we're going to try this now. Hey, this didn't work, we're going to try this now. To me, that's about as good as you can get with an agency, because if you keep changing agencies, it's like constantly changing doctors when you're sick. It's like they're going to run the same test, and they're going to assume that test wasn't run correctly the last time, and you're just going to burn more cash. And sometimes you're lucky enough, the problem gets solved in a matter of a month or 2 or 3. And sometimes it's like, hey, we got to get enough data in to start to prove things out. And then that's where it also becomes risky, because you're already speaking to someone that's upset because something's not working, no matter what strategy it is. And you basically have to explain to them, you're not going to like my answer, but you're going to need to spend a little bit more money, because you got to get some data in to figure out what actually works, and then you move things around. So it's like, it's a constant uphill battle of thinking that, we're magicians.
If you starve the system of cash, you're not going to you're going to be missing that data, like you said, but you're going to have less knowledge to base your next decision on, and you're just going to pedal backwards.
Yeah. And that's where it becomes difficult.
Agencies, I've talked to people who've changed agencies 3 times, and it's like, well, maybe there's a deeper strategy or investment, analysis that's missing here. And maybe blaming the agency, we've tried all these agencies and they're all the same. It's like, we kind of hear this sometimes with people who hire cookie cutter appeals help too. It's kind of the same thing. Like, we tried this guy, which guy? I don't know, some guy. It's like, well, maybe there's a deeper decision-making gap here that needs to be addressed. Right.
Yeah. And you also have like, you'll get these scenarios where it's like, we've had a handful of times too, where like someone will come to us and we'll dig into their stuff and be like, honestly, like your agency's doing just fine. This is how you should do it. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no. And we're like, yeah, well, let me try to explain it a little bit differently than how they did it. And here's why. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, but that's just not the answer I want. So they end up going to another agency. It's like, they're going to end up blowing a lot of cash, learning the hard way.
Well, so how often is it really just their competition's steeper and deeper now? Sometimes that must be the problem, is that their competition is just more robust.
Oh, yeah. That's the biggest problem we get on the Amazon side. Mm-hmm. Like if we're focused on like Amazon stuff, it's usually more they've had such an influx in competition. They're trying to outbid them, and they're playing the pricing and bidding game. And it's just like, hey, you're going to hit a wall here. Yeah. So you almost need to, like, Amazon will let you bid as high as you possibly want. You can go after as many keywords as you theoretically possibly can, but you're going to hit a wall eventually. Oh. And once you kind of hit that wall, you'll almost start to see things slowly start to come down, because your competition is always coming in. Off Amazon, it's a little bit different. That's where we end up seeing just usually it's a lack of education in the platforms and how they work. Like with Amazon, the reality is like, hey, I know for a fact that these, let's say 3 keywords are going to convert really well. Like, cool. All right, let's just go after those 3, put as much gas on those as we can, and then we'll move into the next one. And it's very black and white in the data. It's not a complicated channel for the most part. You go off Amazon, every single thing, Google, Meta, TikTok, you name it, extremely algorithm heavy. Yeah. So the only way for those algorithms to really start to learn and start to figure out where to position you the best, you've got to put data behind it, and which means you got to spend a lot of money. So you can't spend like a couple dollars a day on like, it's just not a thing. No. So that's where like that transition of going from an Amazon brand to being like a true like e-commerce like brand across multiple sales channels becomes a mental hurdle for a lot of brands, because they don't understand that it's a lot more difficult off Amazon. But once you hit it, then it's like a rising tides lift all boats sort of thing.
I think that's a good statement to conclude on. Any last words of wisdom or anything we didn't touch on? I think we kind of covered it.
Yeah, it was a good enough therapy session.
I'm glad. I'm here to help. We're here to help. We're e-commerce / Amazon therapists as it is. So we're happy to help everybody, not just sellers, right? Yeah, where can people reach you if they want to follow up with you, kick your tires, talk to you about any of these things?
Anywhere you want. BlueTusker.com. It's pretty obvious. Otherwise, I'm all over LinkedIn and Instagram. You can also email me, Andrew@BlueTusker.com. Pick your poison.
All right, sweet. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Thanks, everyone, for listening in. You know where to find Andrew if you have questions for him. We will catch up with you next time.